in my eyes, tell me your tale, do you see the road? I'm out to my circle, tell me the signs, whenever the smoke clear out of my face. And my picture perfect, do I look fried? All of that green and yellow, that blue for your eyes is killing. Tell you demise, I'm with to my side, to push back the ceiling and push back the feeling.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today we're going to do a Q&A type of video. I put out an Instagram story asking you guys to send in all the questions that you had for me that I could answer here, and of course I have seen some questions coming on in my comments and different posts as well. So I'm going to go through that as quick as I can, as much as I can, to get all the answers out to you guys. Let's get started. The first question is, what track haven't you raced on which you'd like to? And I'm going to probably pronounce this wrong, but I would have to say Interlagos, and the Brazilian GP circuit that they use in Formula 1. Obviously it looks like an incredible circuit to drive, but I think it would just be extra special because of the success that I've seen with likes of Lewis Hamilton and Ayrton Senna there. I mean, Lewis is my all-time favourite current driver and Ayrton Senna is my favourite driver of all time. That time that Lewis Hamilton started last on the grid and won the race there was just unbelievable, and I just think, one, it's an incredible circuit, it just looks so fun, and I think it would be very, very special. How old were you when you started racing? I was 7 years old and I started in 2013. How do you get sponsors before you have confirmed a seat for that year? Well, typically that's not how me and my team, me and my family really go about it. We focus more on getting the sponsors and the money in first before we actually confirm the seat. For us, it's just too big of a risk to get the seat first, which we have done before. It's put us in a bit of a difficult situation financially, unfortunately. So it's definitely smarter to try and get the sponsors first. However, I know it's very, very difficult, and yeah, so that's how we tend to go about it instead. Why back to GB4? So this is a very, very, very frequently asked question. People are asking, why am I back in GB4? Why have I left F1 Academy? And here's the answer. So I've come back to GB4 to give myself a second year in the same championship in the same car that I previously know. So for those who don't know much about my car racing career, in 2021 I did race Citroen Saxos because I won a scholarship for the JSCC championship, and then in 2022 I did GB4, which I'm currently doing again now, and last year I competed in F1 Academy. So I've never had 2 consecutive years in the same championship in the same car like most drivers have, because typically you'd have a learning year and then a push year where you get the good results, and I've not had that opportunity. I couldn't have said no to those opportunities and I don't regret it at all. I mean, they were both so incredible and so valuable to me now. For example, with F1 Academy, everything that I learned driving for ART Grand Prix, I did those things every single day. I've changed as a person for the best way, a lot more mature. I made so many friends and so many people that are still helping me and supporting me. Things I learned as a driver especially that I can put into play now, and the confidence that I have in myself, in my capability and in the car is so much higher than when I first did GB4. Kind of continue answering the question. The reason that I'm doing a second year is to have that second year of a proper push year. Obviously, I haven't had a lot of testing in GB4 this year, but I mean, I've already raced a year of it, and I did have to get used to the car again, but I'm already feeling pretty confident in it. Hopefully get better results this year, push harder and show more what I'm capable of, rather than having another year of learning in a different championship or something else like this. What helps you keep motivated after a difficult session? It's a very good question. I know that the hard work's going to pay off, and I mean, Ulton was a very good example of that. I mean, as you saw, I was very, very emotional, lots of tears, and it just felt like all the hard work had paid off. It felt so worth it, and it's that feeling that you get when you finally succeed, when you know you've done your best. It's like no other feeling, and I had that all through karting, and it's so much fun. Like, I love what I do. I'm not just doing it for the sake of that. I love racing cars. I mean, who wouldn't? But I love it so much. It's, in my opinion, the best sport ever. Yeah, just that feeling of that success, training to my absolute best capability, trying to make sure I'm better than all my competitors, and you know, that competitive feeling. I'm sure you all know who have a bit of competitiveness in you. If you go karting with family, indoor or outdoor, you just want to win no matter what. So it's kind of like that, just that competitiveness and that enjoyment. And I love the people around me in the sport as well. How did I start in the world of racing? I got into racing when I was very young. Like I said, I started when I was 7, and the reason was because my older sister Lucy, she started racing when she was around 14, 15, and I basically just watched her for a year or 2. I was the annoying little sister running around the paddock, just irritating her and watching her race herself, and be quite successful actually. Not that that's surprising, but Lucy was actually very good in karting. I will give her credit where credit's due. Like I said, in 2013, one day, I just asked my dad, can I have a shot? I couldn't just get in Lucy's kart though. so I had to get one that fitted my age category. That was a lot slower than what she had. So he stuck me out in the cart, and then I've not stopped since. So yeah, that's how it began. And if you're interested in how Lucy's story began, it was as simple as she went to the cinemas, saw the Ayrton Senna movie, and just thought, I want to do that. So technically, it all goes back to Lucy, just by seeing the Ayrton Senna movie, which I think you can understand now why he's our favourite driver of all time. Some very serious questions on here. Apple juice or orange juice? I don't want to choose, however I do feel that I mainly go for the apple juice. What were you thinking and feeling when you had your crash in Monza? When I say it felt like that and it was done, that is genuinely what it felt like. It's a feeling that I can't really describe. I've never felt that way when I've had an incident before. I've never felt that stunned by it and quite shocked and just like what has just happened. Pretty horrible feeling. And then when I saw the fire, because I could see it next to my arm, that was like next level fear. I mean, everyone knows that you can have a crash, but you get up and you continue, but when you see fire, you just think death. So yeah, that was really, really scary for me. And I just knew I had to get out, so I started trying to get myself out as soon as possible. And then all I could think about was, is the car okay? Which obviously I knew it wasn't going to be, but I just wanted to see it. But the paramedics wouldn't let me turn my head to look at it because I wanted to keep my head in a brace upright, just in case there was anything wrong with my neck and didn't want to make it worse. So all I could think about really was, is my car okay? Because I knew that the bill was going to be really bad. Try not to think about it too much now. It was a pretty horrible, horrible time for not just me, but me and my family and my team. Yeah, not a feeling that I ever want to experience again. Pretty scary. I've definitely never felt that scared in my life. My favourite track that I've driven on currently will have to be Zandvoort, and then my favourite track in the UK that I've driven on will have to be Brands Hatch GP. Read somewhere that you hope to be in GB3 next year. Please say this is the case. I would love to be in GB3 next year, but I just have to see what happens, where I end up going. At the end of the day, I sometimes don't really control where I end up going. It's all down to, it's a group decision, it's not just mine. It's mainly based off of budget, what I'm kind of promised, you know, for the future, and whatever I think is better for my future, or what my team think, what we all agree is better for my future to actually make that progression and, you know, aim for our goals and get on the right pathway. So I would love to do GB3 next year, yes, but I can't confirm that's going to happen. We just literally have to wait and see. What's meant to be will be, is what I like to say. Wet tyres on a dry track or slick tyres on a wet track? Neither. If you asked me when I was in karting, I would have said slicks on the wet track any day. I absolutely loved that. So I'm still getting to grips with that in the car currently, but it's so horrible and greasy and slidey, and it's really hard to keep the car on the circuit in those conditions. And then of course, when it comes to wets on a slick track, you just destroy the tyre. Unless there's like, if you're saying there's some wet patches that I can cool my tyres down in on the straights and stuff, then I'm going to choose wets on the dry track, because it's more grip. However, I hate destroying the tyres, so hopefully I get some wet patches to cool the tyres down. How did you get into F1 Academy? Well, I was in discussion about F1 Academy with a couple of people by November, the end of 2022, and then by January, I actually had somebody that I owe a lot of my career to from another team put me in touch with Seb, the CEO of ART. We got in touch with him, and then I think within the next week or so, we were flying out to France, to Paris, to go in the simulator and get tested essentially by them. So they had a couple other drivers I think they were looking at the time. I don't know if they were doing that via the same way they did with me with the simulator, but I went on with the sim with them. I worked with my engineer, who then became my engineer during the championship. So that was to kind of test how our relationship was, how we'd work together, how I drove on the sim, how my pace would be, and obviously if they wanted me on their team. And then less than a week after that, Seb had to go, I think it was to Bahrain, and he had to check with Fred Vasseur, because obviously Fred's still heavily involved with ART, and he had to check with Fred that Fred was okay to sign me. Very, very luckily and very happily, Fred said yes, and I became the happiest person in the world. And I got that email that they were going to sign me, and yeah, that was a pretty incredible feeling. If I could meet any driver, who would I choose? I would say Lewis Hamilton, but I've been very, very lucky and had the privilege to meet him twice already, so I feel like I have to choose another driver. It's really hard to choose. I mean, I feel I'd either choose between likes of Carlos or Lando or like Ricardo, just because they're such, I mean, everyone knows how much they are loved, and they're just quite iconic people, and very nice. I feel they're very nice people with good personalities. I'm mainly gonna have to say Carlos though, because of the fact that he is with Rebecca, who of course is Scottish, and Rebecca was very kind to me, and she brought me Carlos's t-shirt signed by him to me at the Austin Grand Prix last year, so I'm gonna have to say Carlos. If you could drive any race car from any era, what car would it be and from which series? Immediately when I read that question, I think of Ayrton Senna's McLaren. Lucy's been very lucky enough to actually get to sit in it. She went, I think she was probably my age at the time. I think she was like 18 and she got to go to the factory and she actually got to sit in that car. So yeah, 100% I'm going to say that one because it's the first thing that comes to my mind. How did you move from karting to cars and then to open wheels? So at the beginning of 2021, I was planning on doing the British Karting Championships and a friend of ours suggested, why don't you enter in for this scholarship? And of course we were like, might as well give it a shot, you never know what's going to happen. So entered into the JSCC scholarship, which is the Junior Saloon Car Championship. There was lots of tests and it was based off who had the most points would win. And the tests were like so physical, media, driving, but there's 2 driving. There was like on track driving and then off track. So obviously when you come back in, you have to maneuver yourself and reverse into your garage essentially. So just making sure you were able to do that safely. So that was kind of all the tests. The physical one was actually really good. It was based off of points. By the end of the day, after all the testing was done, I was very, very lucky enough to have scored the most points out of everyone and I had won the scholarship. So I got a fully funded year in the JSCC, racing a Citroen Saxo. I got to learn all the main UK tracks and it really was very, very, very valuable for my future for progressing up in cars. Then in 2022, when I was moving to GB4, the reason that happened, because it was very unexpected. I think I was actually still looking at doing like sort of Ginetta or some sort of tin top racing at that point. Laser Tools Racing, they saved the day. They got in touch with me, found me, and they wanted me to be a part of their team for GB4 in 2022. And I, of course, immediately said yes, and I'm still with them now. Huge shout out to Laser Tools Racing. They have turned my career around and I really do love them and appreciate them for that, and they're great people. Thought any more about merch? I have, and all I can say just now is keep your eyes peeled, keep a lookout. Why have you chosen number 66? Okay. Now this is going to be a question that you all might make fun of me for. Pretty simple. You know, I copied it because Lucy had it when I was growing up watching her race. But the reason that Lucy chose 66 was because the man Hamish that got us into motorsport, well, helped us start karting, helped us get, you know, helped my dad essentially get the carts, get all the parts we needed and just get going. And then he helped us for years and years after that. He was kind of like our own little team. His son Graham was raced before us and he had the number 66. However, we didn't realise why Graham chose the number 66 until probably when I was around 14, 15. So like I was quite a few years into racing and it was kind of a devastating news to find out. Graham's parents, Hamish and Linda, are Scottish. However, Graham was born in England and in 1966, England won the World Cup. So I'm a Scottish driver with the number 66 because of the England World Cup. Bit bizarre, but that's just how it's turned out to be. So laugh up all you want, but there's your answer. What type of food do you eat before and after a race? So in the morning on a race weekend, testing and race days, quality, everything, I actually went to Costco and I got one of those huge boxes of oats and in the little sachet packet. So I go into my car and I just get like 2 sachets and I just get hot water and I have my oats every morning for breakfast. Lunchtime, usually if I'm making up my own lunch, it will be a banana and peanut butter sandwich. And if I ever have any snacks in between, it will be bananas because they're such a good food for having long-lasting energy. Yeah, I don't like to eat too much on race weekends. I like to stay light and just feel better about myself. I'm sure some of you might know what I mean by that. And then after, at the end of the day when it's dinner, I'll eat whatever I'm in the mood for. I've driven all day, I deserve to have a break. So yeah, I only have dessert on the Sunday night once everything is done, but apart from that I can just eat what I want at dinner and enjoy the food. But when I enjoy the food, it's never like, I try to still be sensible about it, but just have a reasonable portion. Are you still close with any of the F1A drivers? If so, who? Yes, of course. I speak to Jess Edgar every single day. Me and Jess are very, very close. I mean, my like 2 closest friends is Jess Edgar and Leona Theobald. I mean, we speak to each other every day. They're definitely my best friends. And of course, they both race, both for Motorsport. So again, proving that Motorsport gives me so much and is the best sport. Even though Lena is no longer in F1 Academy, Lena is now in Freca. Her first round is actually this weekend, so good luck to Lena. I wish her nothing but the best. And yeah, I speak to Lena quite a lot. She helps me out, and if I'm ever in a pickle or need her help, I can message her and I know I can rely on her. And she really took me under her wing last year. I mean, I call her Mama Lena because she did so much for me. But yeah, I make sure to stay in regular contact with Lena. I also keep in touch with both Hamda, Amna and Emily, and it's fantastic that they're all on the Red Bull Junior Driver program now as well, because when I come to train at iZone, they're not far. So I can go out and have have dinner with them, and I still get to see them, which is really, really nice. So yeah, I make sure to stay in touch with them. Lola as well. Lola is wild. I love Lola so much. Lola's a very brutally honest person, so if you need someone's opinion and you want them to be honest, you speak to Lola. I do speak to all of them. I don't know Leah that well, but obviously we didn't race each other last year, but I saw her in Spain. She's such a nice person, and yeah, we speak occasionally here now and again. And of course Chloe Chong. Chloe's now in British F4, and me and Chloe speak quite frequently. Just kind of keeping each other updated. Try to arrange something to do together in London. We need to go out shopping or something. So yeah, in conclusion, I still speak to Jess, Lena, Hamda, Amna, Aimee, Chloe, Lola. They're definitely the closest I was with, and the ones I keep in contact with frequently, but the others I still I think we catch up occasionally, but definitely not as much as the others because I love them so much. What's your favourite motorsport quote? Well, I actually put a quote on the back of my helmet, was in 2022. My sister Lucy, I do have another sister, Katie, by the way. Katie's editing this video probably right now. Lucy has a lot of involvement in person with my racing. Katie is a very busy woman and doesn't have as much time to come to the racing. Lucy's still very busy, but I'm her priority. Going back to what I was saying, Lucy bullied me for having this quote on my helmet, essentially. She said that it was a bit cheesy, but I still love it. So on the back of my helmet, it was no fear, no limits, no regrets. It is a bit cheesy. It's a cheesy quote to live by, but I just quite like it, and I feel it suits well with what I'm doing. I don't have it on my helmet anymore, although I should get it back on and see how she reacts. Do you ever wish to do any other form of motorsport? Of course, I will do every single form of motorsport if I can. At the end of the day, I just want to be driving. I don't care what I'm driving. It's all so much fun, and I'm very, very open to explore other routes and other pathways that I could possibly look at. I'm very, very open to that. I think I got a glimpse of that last year when I got to drive the Extreme E car. That was something I've never ever experienced before, and it was a whole new level, and it was just, the speed was unbelievable, and actually getting to do a bit of off-roading, that was really fun. So yeah, 100% I'd like to look at other things as well. How many hours of simulator would you say you do per week? Varies whether I'm here at iZone or I'm at home. When I'm at home, I try to on average do 2 hours each day and at least have one day of rest, because there is at one point you can fry your brain a bit too much. Probably one day on the weekend, either Saturday or Sunday, have a bit of a rest, but every other day make sure I'm doing 2 hours minimum each day. And then when I'm here at iZone, it's a lot more. It can change from day to day, and we try not to fry our brains off here as well, but of course it's very important. And when we find different drills to run, different run plans that we can do, it's not boring, and it make sure we're still learning, still improving, and we're not kind of doing the same thing over and over. We're still having a variety. On iZone on average, around about 3 to 5 hours a day, mainly closer towards the mark of 5 hours, because we do a lot of sim here. But if there's a day that I want to focus more on my gym and working on my physical side of things or my mental side of things, then it'll be more closer to the 3 hour mark per day. So it is a lot, but it is really good fun, especially when it's here. Favourite driver of all time? I've already answered this, but Ayrton Senna. Oh, Rangers or Celtic? St Johnston, that's the only correct answer. Favourite driver on the grid? If you mean Formula 1, then I've actually opened a lot up to other drivers within the past 2 years, but I've still just got to say Lewis Hamilton. I'm sorry, but I can't not say anyone else. I love him so much. What is my least favourite track I've raced on? I've definitely never been asked this question before. Oh, that is tough. I'm trying to think of a track that I don't like. Oh, I've got one. Brands Indy, and it's a bit strange because obviously in the UK my favourite track is Brands GP, but definitely Brands Indy. I'm sorry, but I really do not like Brands Indy. It's too short. It's not as fun, but Brands GP really makes up for it there. What would I do now if I wouldn't be racing? I have not got a clue. I don't even know how I can answer that. Obviously this is all I've really known my whole life. However, before I kind of fully committed to motorsport, my parents basically tested me in every sport they could until we decided which one to stick with. So I did so many different sports when I was a kid, and all through high school I competed for my local town in hockey. I really did enjoy doing hockey. It was so much fun. However, I had to give it up because competitions were usually always on the weekend, and as you know, motorsport's always on the weekend, so unfortunately I'd stopped hockey. But I'd like to think that maybe I would have pursued that further, and maybe that would have been my sport instead. But if not, hopefully on a boat in Greece somewhere. What's your go-to hairstyle to keep your hair out your face? If I'm just putting my helmet on, low ponytail, pretty simple, pretty easy. If I'm training, high ponytail, just get it out my face. But typically, I mean, I've got the curls today. This is like an overnight curl thing, which I'm sure a lot of you have seen on TikTok, and that's just kind of simple day to day. But yeah, to keep it out my face, helmet on, low ponytail, training, high ponytail. Nothing exciting. Would you do another season of F1 Academy if you were ever given the chance? I loved F1 Academy a lot. I don't know where I'm gonna end up in the next couple of years, although I'm sorting out a plan currently, so I kind of do. I'm gonna say it again, what's meant to be will be. Where I end up, I will end up, and I really loved F1 Academy when I was in it. There's quite a lot of questions, like for example, favourite F1 champion, favourite F1 driver, who's the GOAT in motorsport, and again, Lewis Hamilton. Do you think that you need an interest in cars to be a racing driver? It kind of depends what you mean by that. I mean, I have an interest in cars, but I definitely know people that, like, for example, see different cars on the road and go a lot more crazy for it than I do. However, I think you need to have an interest in, like, so the mechanics and how the cars actually work, because obviously when you become a racing driver, you need to be able to report back to your engineer and your mechanic on what you want to improve together. And yeah, so I do think there is some level where you do need to be interested, and especially in the mechanical side, for technical sides as well. I definitely think at some level you do. Opinion on the JSCC. I loved the JSCC when I was in it. I mean, it was just teenagers racing. It was good fun, made friends, learned tracks that I needed to learn that ended up being really valuable for me in my future for what I've been doing in the UK. And yeah, I learned more racecraft, learned how to actually race against other cars and not just karts. So yeah, it was really good fun. I really enjoyed it when I was in it. And then another question, which I'm going to make the final question, is why does GB4 not have halos? And it's going to be quite a long answer. GB4 does not have halos because, for those who don't know, the GB4 car that we use is the Gen 1 Tatis F4 car, and that car was used in Italian F4, Spanish F4, different F4 championships across the world, and it's an older car. And in 2022, all those F4 cars that were being used, like I said, in British and Italian, although in British it was the Magal, not the Tatis, but in British and Italian and Spanish, UAE, all those F4 cars that were being used, they got changed to the Gen 2 Tatis car, which is what F1 Academy uses, and they've been the Gen 2 for since 2022 now, and they still are. Fantastic car, by the way, I love that car. So yeah, the old cars, they didn't really know what to do with them. There is other championships across the world that still use them as well, like we do in GB4. But when GB4 was made, Jonathan Palmer basically set up GB4, bought the cars, brought them over. He's been able to make the cheapest F4 championship in the UK, and if not in the world, then in the UK that's F4. It makes doing single seaters in F4 affordable, and the reason that there's actually not a halo on these cars is because you can't just add a halo. If you're going to have a halo, it's going to be a whole new car, like they did with the Gen 2. Got the Gen 2 in, it was a whole new car with the halo designed amazingly. So it would mean whole new cars, which puts the budget up even more, and it makes the championship unaffordable. And for people likes of everyone in GB4 currently, including myself, who maybe can't afford likes of British F4, it gives us still the opportunity to live that single-seater dream and maybe prove to people what we are capable of. And then if we do well, and we can get opportunities in the future in different single-seater categories, or hopefully with F1 junior teams and things like this. It's been pretty incredible. I do understand that people are concerned that there's not a halo, and trust me, I'm not a fan of driving without a halo either. However, it's okay, and they are finding ways to bring in better cars with halos and make it safer. And I'm sure that MSV and Jonathan Palmer, they do a fantastic job already. They'll make sure that the safety standards are very high and that everything is okay. So yeah, they've been doing a really good job, and like I said, it just makes this kind of incredible F4 dream racing come true because it makes it more affordable. And yeah, so that's kind of the real reason that we don't have the halos on the car. So that's my first Q&A done on my YouTube channel. I'm sure, and I really hope that we can do more in the future to answer way more questions for you guys. And yeah, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Bye.